evening. Okay, so my name is Shannon Holder. I am 27 years old and I am part of the graduating class of the MAYM program. So now when Dr. Henry asked me to do this, I was very nervous, but also very excited. Yesterday we spoke and she said to me, Shannon, just speak from your heart. Just say why you came here, what you got from here, and what are you doing now? So I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. To start, I do want to tell my favorite story, though. And I told this story to some of you before, so I hope it's not too boring for you. Now, we're all familiar with Jacob in Genesis, correct? And then Joseph in Genesis and his story about this young boy who was mistreated by his older brothers and who was bullied and then eventually ended up being sold into slavery, right? Now, while this story is a great story, today I kind of want to switch the story up and tell the story of the 11 of Joseph's brothers, right? Why I tell this story? Because this story is the exact reason why I got here today. Now, we all know from the beginning, we have Jacob and he has two wives, Rachel and Leah, right? And now while Rachel is his soulmate, the love of his life, right? Rachel is barren. And so he ends up having children with Leah. And so now he has his first boy, and he's not really emotional or affectionate with this young man, right? He just simply gives him the task. I want you to pray. I want you to watch over my sheep, and I want you to understand that you are a God-fearing man, right? And so first son says, okay, and he has no blame or no shame in doing these things. He doesn't look for any extra affection because this is just what he's used to, right? And then he has another son, and another son, and another son, and another son, and another son. Now, none of these boys get anything different than the first child did. They all given tasks and told, you are God-fearing men, you will read your Bible, and you will watch over the sheep. And so that's what they do. No complaints, no anything. Now, one day Jacob gets a message from God. And God says, Jacob, guess what? You and your favorite wife about to have a baby, right? And he gets really, really excited. He starts planning and prepping for this baby, and they're just really excited. I can imagine in my mind he's making carriages. He's just getting extra prepared, and they're making clothes. They're treating this baby different. The baby comes. The baby doesn't do the same things as the other brothers now. So now this brother, unlike the other brothers, he's kept in the house. He's nurtured, he's loved on. His mother is taking care of him every single day. She's making him clothes and things that the other boys never got or even received or even seen before, right? So as I can imagine, as you probably can imagine, these 11 boys seeing this new change in Daddy, they begin to get jealous. They get a little bit upset at all this new love that this one brother is getting that they never was able to receive. And so they begin to talk. And when you angry and you talking to someone who angry, what happens? You get more angry, right? And so now these 11 boys, they start to conspire with one another and they decide that they are going to sell their brother into slavery, right? And so that's what they do. At no point in time in this story have we heard of anyone love on those boys. At not one point in time in this story have we heard anyone go and tell them you can participate in the building up of Joseph. At not one point in time in this story that these boys get the same affection or treatment that their brother did. And so in this space, like in my community, these boys who have no fathers, no mothers, no families, they're neglected every day. These boys who do not get to see any hope or any faith at all, they begin to do things that make them hyper-masculine. They begin to do things that make them take risks, right? And these boys begin to do things like murder and end up in jail or push somebody into a hole or sell someone into slavery, right? But these are my boys. These are my friends. You see, I come from Harlem. I was born and raised here. And in this community, in this block, on these streets, I've seen boys who were 12 and 13 be arrested. I've seen boys and girls who were either raped or mistreated and not heard or ignored and treated like they did not matter anymore. I've seen these boys on the train and I've seen older people look at them with their noses stuffed up and their faces all twitched up at them, not understanding that this boy is looking and seeking attention. Right? So I said to myself, okay, Shannon, and in the hood they call me Yamisha, right? Yamisha, as a teenager, let's talk to someone, let's talk to our friends. But because of all of the loss of hope, it was hard to create a space to talk about faith. And so I said to myself, I'm going to school, right? And so I ended up here at NYTS with two purposes. My first purpose was a selfish one. I wanted to learn everything I could learn about God. I wanted to read and be able to read and exegete the book in and out. Right? But outside of that, I wanted to be able to take everything that I learned in that building, in this church, in these spaces, with you all, and give it back to my community. Give it back to those young boys. Give it back to these black and brown kids who are out here being ignored every single day. So, in being at NYTS, I was able to meet someone so amazing like Dr. Henry, and I was able to go to her class, Youth Culture and Pedagogy, and look at my kids in their space. I was able to see the classrooms that they was in, where the principals treated them different, or the teachers treated them different. I was able to see my black boys in the hood who never got anything but judgment from everyone else around them. And I was able to start to be able to think and come up with novel ways to teach them and to begin this faith formation in these young boys and girls. I was able to go to classes like theology and urban youth with Dr. Mason, and I was able to learn about historical events and current events, things that continue to happen over and over again because we're not paying attention to them. I was able to see movements that were happening that we never get to hear about on a day-to-day basis. Furthermore, I was able to see how I can put Christ into the real world. I went to a class called Psychology of Adolescence. And in this class, I learned one of the most amazing things that I say all the time. It makes me feel like a genius. And that thing is that a teenager is literally incapable
Say it.
of making a logical decision. Okay? So as we look at these boys and they just randomly picked up the gun, or as we look at the boy or the girl who just decided to roll her skirt up a little too high today, she is incapable. Why? Because in your teenage years, you don't have the frontal lobe of your brain. Why? Because the part of your brain that controls the logic and the reasoning that happens on a day-to-day that we are able to do when we say to ourselves, I'm going to pay my bills instead of going outside, they do not have. With learning that, I built a new perspective. With learning that, I was able to go back into my community like I planned on doing. So now today I stand here and I began this journey very, very shy, very, very unaware, very unconfident in myself. And while I started a bit nervous, I remember, and God continues to remind me of why I am here. Because I have a voice that needs to be heard, not for myself, but for adolescents and youth all around the world. So now, NYTS has made me able to become a student advocate at Harlem Children's Zone, where I'm working with 10th to 12th graders. And I'm able to help them to guide them on their journey holistically, not just in the academic world, but also in the faith world. I am sitting at tables with Christians and Muslims and people of all different backgrounds and able to just start the conversation about God and what He's doing and what He's done and how He can move in your world. Okay, I am also finally in a church. I don't know if you remember my face in school, but I always started every single class by saying, I didn't start in church.
That's right.
I wasn't from the church.
That's right.
Every single class, I made sure that I let you all know that that wasn't where I started at.
That's right.
Only so that I could be able to tell you today that that is where I am. Thanks to our practicum and the requirements of that, I was required to get an internship. And in that internship, I was required to find a place that I can do youth ministry. And after searching and searching and searching, I found a church, Central Baptist Church. And in this church, I am now the youth minister. In this youth ministry position, I am with the black and browns and all of the children of all communities every single day. I get to create programming, I get to talk to them, I get to listen to them, and I get to teach what I have learned. Finally, if there's anything that I've gotten out of NYTS that I unfortunately don't have at home, is a large family. This place has given me a family. I have people like Sharice and Nafisa who I can text in the middle of the night and I can say, yo, I'm stressed. What this paper about? What Dr. Henry, what she needs right? Because I don't got the time right now. And I get responses back, no sister, we doing this. We are gonna finish this. And if it wasn't for that friendship and those relationships that I made, who knows? But NYTS is the place that I call home now. Because now I'm not just here for learning, but I'm here for my family and my friends and for the world and for God. And I appreciate this place and this space. And if anything that I've said has moved you, the only thing that I ask that you do with that is to take it back to the kids.
That's
right. Take it back to your communities and do not hold your noses up at them. Do not make biases and judgments of these children. Instead, just listen. Hear them. Hear their complaints. Hear their stories. Listen to what they need to say. Because I am sure there is God in that story. And you will be able to hear it and find it and use it to help them to begin their faith journey. And so that they can be just like you as a disciple and a shepherd and doing all the work that we are doing that makes us wake up every day and feel so good. So thank you all. I appreciate this journey. I appreciate this place. And please just love on our kids.